Hey everyone! In today's video, I'll be using some simple and affordable materials to create beautiful holiday decor. We are making a couple different ornaments, some garland, and I'm saving my favorite project until the end, so I hope you'll stick around to see how easy and unique it is. Let's jump in and get started on these holiday projects. For this first project, I tried drying out my own oranges. The tutorial that I followed recommended 5 hours at 250 degrees, but I ended up reducing the temperature to 200, and mine only needed about 3 hours in the oven. You will want to line cookie sheets with parchment paper and then blot off any excess moisture with a paper towel before putting them in the oven. Check on them every so often and flip them over halfway through. I am going to be making a garland with mine today, and I may also make some ornaments later as well. I am using twine because I love the simple and natural look. You are going to make 2 holes on either side of the slice and feed the twine through the top and then back behind through the other side. I used a total of 18 oranges for each garland, and I ended up making 2 for my fireplace mantle. I also love the arts, and this gives me an opportunity to engage in the creative process, which I find so rewarding. Next, I'm using air dry clay to create these really beautiful ornaments using wood cookie molds. I read several tutorials on using air dry clay, and I will link those for you, but this brand was recommended on a couple different blogs, and it was pretty affordable on Amazon. You will need a straw for making the hole at the top, as well as some kind of tool to scrape your clay off the back, which is what I'm using that old cake tool for. I also recommend having a small bowl of water and a small sponge handy for smoothing out the edges of the clay. These are the wood cookie molds that I'm going to be using. I picked mine up on Amazon, but if you didn't want to spend the money on these, a little bit later in the video, I'm going to be showing you another option for creating clay ornaments without the molds. I'm starting out by working the clay just a little bit in my hands and then firmly pressing it into the mold. You'll then want to remove the excess clay off the back and smooth it out with a little bit of water in the sponge. I found that the best method to remove the mold was to bang it a little bit on the counter, and then it popped right out for me. Finally, you're going to use just a little bit of water with your finger, smooth out the edges, and then place it on the tray to dry. Don't forget to use your straw to add the hole at the top before it dries. They will need to cure for a full 24 hours and maybe a little extra time after that, as I had to flip mine over and let the backs dry as well. If you didn't want to invest in the cookie molds, you could also use a round cookie cutter or even the top of a glass to create a simple round shape. I used a rolling pin that has these little rubber rings on the side that helps to roll your dough out so it's even, but you could definitely just use a regular rolling pin that works just as well. I then used some pieces of greenery that fell off of my garland and just pressed this into the clay. I thought they looked so elegant yet simple, which is the look that I was wanting in my home for the holidays this year. Once the ornaments were fully dry, I just added some ribbon. You could certainly paint them if you wanted, but I loved the look of the natural clay. This clay also comes in a beautiful terracotta color, which I thought was just so pretty and considered maybe giving this a try next year. Next up, I have these really beautiful aged ornaments. For these, I just repurposed some old ornaments that were a red and white color. And these ornaments are the shatterproof kind. You can also pick up a set of these at Michael's or even at Dollar Tree for not much money at all. I started by painting a base with the color antique white and a hint of the color territorial beige. I also added some baking soda for some texture. I put the second coat of paint on a little bit thicker and moved my brush around in different directions to create a layer of texture. This is very much a layering process, so here I am using this natural sponge to add yet another layer of paint. You could also use a damp paper towel for this part. I am mixing together some paint in metallic tones. I mostly use the colors Rich Espresso and Antique Gold. While the paint is still wet, you're going to roll it in some cinnamon. This is really going to help to create that aged look. Once the cinnamon is dry, you can use a dry paintbrush and brush off the excess. I then went back in with a little more of the antique white and my sponge on top of the cinnamon. The final step will be to add some rub and buff very sparingly over the whole ornament. I actually mixed two colors together, European gold and antique gold. Remember to add a little bit of rub and buff to the ornament tops as well. These last couple of projects have a very similar process. They are so simple and the materials are very affordable. I am making a paper ornament first using these round coffee filters. They also come in white, but I loved the unbleached color. I'll link the ones that I am using for you. The process is just a series of folding and gluing. I believe I used 13 circles for one ornament. You're going to fold the circles in half and then glue them right in the middle. Next, you will stack the half circles on top of each other, putting glue on each side of the half circle. I will also insert a picture here, which is a nice visual of where the glue goes. I did use a glue gun as I found that glue sticks were not strong enough to hold the paper. Finally, I added a piece of twine with a knot on the end and I glued it right in the middle of the ornament before I opened it up. Once it was open, I just added a little bit of glue on the sides to hold the whole thing together and then tied a final knot at the top of the twine. These were so simple and I love the natural color. These last two projects were my absolute favorite. I am making paper bag snowflakes and then I am also using a lace doily to make a snowflake as well. The materials were extremely affordable and the result was just beautiful. For the snowflake, I used 7 regular size lunch bags. You'll want to flip the bag over so that the bottom of the bag is facing up. I used my glue gun to create an upside down T and then stacked the bags together. The next step is where you can get really creative and cut out the design that you want for your snowflake. Finally, you just open it up and glue the ends together. For the Doily Snowflakes, I used 2 different sizes, and I will link the pack that I ordered for you. It is a similar process to the paper bag snowflake with just a couple extra folds. First, you're going to fold the doily in half, rotate it, and then open it up again completely. Then you're going to fold the sides in, but don't overlap them completely in the middle. Next, you're going to fold the doily up and make a little pocket. You will then add glue to each side of the pocket, but not the middle. I did use a glue stick here because the paper is so light. I stacked 6 of these little pockets together. Again, you will make the upside down T on each of the pockets and create the stack like we did with the paper bag snowflakes. Finally, just open up the snowflake and glue the ends together. There are endless possibilities for styling these. I tried mine in the window in the living room, which I thought was just beautiful with the light peering through. I also tried them on my banister, which I thought looked pretty as well. I loved the doily snowflakes hanging together on a hook in my entryway. I also thought they could be pretty on this mirror, maybe paired with some greenery. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you got some inspiration for your home. In next week's video, we are going to be decorating my living room space for the holidays. I can't wait to share how everything came together.